Are you sick and tired of slow sales as a eBay reseller? Well, in this video, we're going to be going over the one thing that you can do today to help transform your reselling business. And we're bringing on Parker Hayes with Ghost Town Outfitters here in Eugene, Oregon, that runs a bale house providing inventory for other resellers. And he is a 20-year vet in the reselling industry. And we're just going to kind of pick his brain on seeing what was the one thing that helped him transform his business to really make it a full-time business. And stick around to the end of the video, and I'll be covering the one thing that helped me go from being just a part-time reseller to producing over 6 figures as a full-time reseller. So let's jump right into him and waste no more time. Welcome, Parker. How are you
Good
doing?
morning. Man, I'm wonderful. I'm richly blessed today. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, very good. Very good. So I really love your story. I really love your testimony,
Thank
and
you.
I love what you're doing. Can you just explain to me what you're doing like today and kind of on a daily basis? You just opened this
Yeah.
bale house. What are some projects that you're working on today to help, kind of get things going in your warehouse?
Oh my gosh, man, it has been an absolute whirlwind. I could not have expected that something of this variety would be happening
Mhm.
at this time. I'm kind of feeling like the Willy Wonka of thrifters right now, and
Mhm.
it's a little odd and a little exciting. So
Yeah.
some of the things that I'm working on right now is mostly driving traffic.
Mhm.
Obviously, we've had some really successful campaigns on TikTok. We had one video that reached over 160,000 views,
Yeah.
and I've never had anything in my life that has been more than 160 anything, 160,000 anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of it is just getting into that flow of what people are looking for, how we can provide more value, sort of what is that price point range, because my demographic has changed quite a bit. When I
Mhm.
first started, it was a lot an older demographic, and then now because it's hit campus and because of TikTok,
That's right.
my demographic has gotten quite a bit younger in like the last week. So there's a lot of pivoting happening.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you've been open for about a month now into
Yeah,
December, or yeah.
yeah, just a little over. We started December the 15th, when it was when we were actually moving the trailer in, and
Hmm.
we had a bale on the ground, or 2 bales on the ground, by I think the 17th of December. So it was very fast.
Hmm. And now that you're getting enough like clientele and supplying resellers with inventory, do you see yourself? You're buying about 2 bales at a time.
Yeah.
Um, do you at this rate, do you see yourself like renting the next warehouse over and maybe having that as more of a processing area and, maybe
Yeah.
having, like you have like it in half. It's like one half is a retail type of vintage and then the other
Right.
half is a more of a bin style. So do you see yourself getting more space because of the crazy growth?
Yeah, I have actually been thinking about that a bit. I
Hmm.
am sort of at max capacity with 2 bales,
Yeah.
and I'm already sort of like itching and wondering what four would feel like.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So the unit directly next to me actually is probably 4 times bigger than my space, and
Wow.
I can't say that I haven't peeked in the windows thinking about it, but I do have a few people who are asking when we're going to be opening something up in Salem and Florence, and people are really excited about it. So I think that it's a concept that people are very interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think just talking to other resellers, they're getting tired of those prices. We talked about it in the
Indeed.
last episode of the podcast briefly, and that was kind of like your mission statement was like you said that to me when we first met was like you were just tired of those high prices. And now you see the demand come in because we have the Goodwill bins. There's 3 big ones here in the Portland area, but
Right.
they're just so crowded nowadays. I think people are starting to get ready for something new, and
Mhm.
that's kind of what you're providing. Um, So
Yeah.
I know, yeah, in and it's such a beautiful thing, just how it all comes to pass and stuff.
Thank you.
So yeah, just do you want to just touch on the video that's playing now? This is your last
Sure.
TikTok, and kind of just the process of like you see people digging, and you have the prices up front. What is like your price point? What can people expect to pay when they come to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was actually, I believe, the day after we had launched the TikTok campaign. This was
Mhm.
actually a very slow moment. There was a point where I was standing at the door and I had people ready to check out all the way to that back bathroom back there where the teepee is, and so it was a wild afternoon. We learned a
Mhm.
lot of things. But the way that the price points kind of work is that when those bales first come in, they're unpicked, and there could be anything from a super rare T-shirt to
Yeah.
USA made Levi's to,
Mhm.
I mean, you kind of never know what you're going to get. So I
Yeah.
tentatively have everything priced kind of. I don't want to say it's by weight; it's actually by the piece. But sort of the lighter the piece is, the cheaper it is. So a
Mhm.
little tank top or something like that is probably going to be 50 cents. If it's a graphic tee, it's going to be $1.
Mhm.
If it's got graphics on both sides or is like an older vintage t-shirt, it could be $3. But generally speaking, it's also based on condition. So while a
Yeah.
jacket might generally be $5, I'm not going to charge $5 for a jacket that's beat up,
Yeah.
because if a person wants it, I'm in the business of making sure that it goes home to
Yeah.
somebody. So
Yeah.
I fluctuate quite a bit, and even at that, I am not having a very firm grip in terms of like how much I'm trying to squeeze out of it. I had a lady yesterday
Mhm.
where she had a lot of stuff. I counted it up and I said, this looks like about $40 to me. It was a lot of stuff. And she said, I
Mhm.
don't have $40. I only have 20. And I said, it's yours. Take it. So
Yeah.
that's the type of business that it's in, or that I'm in right now. Is it's a wholesale scenario, but it's more valuable to me to have the products go into people's hands and go out the door than it is to say sorry and put it back in the pile.
Mhm. And then who knows where it goes,
I know, I
after that.
know. And
Yeah.
so there's some amazing people out there. I mean, a lot of incredible crafters come through,
Mhm.
and we have one kid who comes through. He's really young. He's maybe 15 years old, and he's
Mhm.
riding that trend of the baggy pants coming back into style.
Yep.
And he comes in and probably spends, maybe $15-$20 a day just
Mhm.
buying denim,
Mhm.
so that way he can get cool pants, and then he actually flares them out so they're wide legs, and then
Mm.
he'll add different colors and patches, and he'll put
Yeah.
cargos on them, and it's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, taking something that normally people would pass up and go, "This is trash," and then
Yeah.
restoring it and adding value to it.
Right.
That right there is a business in itself. So
It
very
is. Yeah.
cool. So I see here in the video you have like a more clothing on racks. Kind of touch on that. You said you
Hmm.
you don't know what you'll find. What is the price point for like a vintage pair of silver tabs or a
Sure.
Carhartt button up? That might be vintage. What can if people are looking for vintage? What can they expect to pay? Probably not
Sure.
$1. So, but what is that looking like for you?
Yeah, yeah. I do kind of have to strike a middle accord. I am trying to keep the
Hmm.
lights on,
Yeah.
but I also, despite knowing what I have, like you said in the introduction, I've been at it for 20 years. I
Yeah.
know kind of what the going rate for things are, but I also, again, it's about speed. It's about kind of fighting the man, fighting the system a little bit,
Hmm.
because my main ethos in this was that thrift stores were too overpriced. And
Yeah.
so I don't think that it's in my best interest to have prices that are competitive with the thrift stores.
Yeah.
So when people, ask me about it, I want that look in their eye to be like, are you sure? So if we've
Yeah.
got the vintage silver tabs in there, I might know that they're selling for $40, but I
Mhm.
would probably be in the ballpark of 12 to 15,
Yeah.
depending on condition.
Yeah.
And I feel like because a lot of the stuff has come out of the bales, or I'm actually receiving a lot of donations that are incredible donations. I
Mhm.
didn't see that part coming.
Yeah.
Um, it's really, I think, makes me happier knowing that people got a great deal, which is really, that was
Mhm.
the spirit of the thrift store to begin with.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, just for people who don't live in Oregon, $12 to $15 is normally what you would pay for a pair of denim jeans on the racks here at Goodwill. That's,
Right.
Wranglers, Old Navy, Faded Glory denim jeans go for about $9 to $12 here in my
Right.
area.
Right.
And so to come away with some silver tab made in USA 1990 jeans
Yep.
for that price point, there's still
Yep.
some meat on the bone to where you can double your money, triple your money with that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I find myself saying that somewhat frequently to people, because
mhm,
some people don't know all the time. Like they'll have something in their hands and they'll go, I like
yeah.
this, but they don't know sort of like the history or where the market is. And
Mhm,
so I frequently find myself saying, like, at that price, you could put it online and triple your money, you
yeah.
know, which
Yeah.
I feel kind of funny about, but it's true. I had USA made Levi's, not
Mhm,
silver tab, just standard 501s, double
mhm,
X's that I was
mhm.
letting go for $6.
Dang, yeah. Yeah, $6, everybody.
Yeah.
And so that's the beautiful thing is what you're doing. There's a demand, and you're providing supply,
Yeah.
and now that demand is starting to outweigh supply because you are, I'm sure you have a little bit of help, but you are mainly just a one solopreneur type of person.
Yeah.
It's just you right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but the one thing I want to touch on before we get into the one thing that helped you kind of transform your business was the donations thing. You're getting people that are now contacting you,
Right.
bringing donations that would be going to Goodwill or St. Vincent's, and now they're going to you.
Right.
So, what is the
Right.
types of things you're seeing? That are you accepting all donations or just like specific things? I know people are probably going to want to dump everything on you. What's kind of the cutoff point with that, and are you just open to like, sure?
Yeah, yeah. I'm really big on Louis Vuitton, Chanel,
Hmm.
Gucci, any of that kind of stuff. You just throw it in a trash bag and you
Yeah,
just bring it and drop it off at the
kick
door.
it a
That's
few
fine.
times.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Bell staff hoodies. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it doesn't
Amiri
have to be
pants.
perfect.
Yeah,
I just need it to be those brands. Now,
only those. Yeah, nothing else.
I
Yeah,
I basically just tell everybody, as long as it doesn't get me a chore, in the
yeah.
sense that I have to bag it back up
The
and
trash. Yeah,
get rid of it, I'll take it.
yeah,
And the amazing thing is I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not a nonprofit at all. Like I'm just a
yeah.
small little shop. And people, I'm getting asked probably 5 times a day, 6 times a day, do you accept donations? And when I say yes, they get this look of relief on their face because
Yeah.
they have been sitting on these bags of clothing that they don't want to give to the major retailers.
Yeah.
Even though they're nonprofit organizations, you can get coupons, you can get
Yeah.
tax write-offs. They
Hmm.
would rather give it to something like what I'm doing because they know that I'm being fair and that it's benefiting people. And it's been, I mean, I had a girl show up yesterday with a couple of bags, and
Hmm.
she's like, here, these are my donations. And I opened it up
Hmm.
and it was North Face and Abercrombie and, American Eagle. It was good quality clothing, and they were
Yeah.
all clean and smelled good. And
Yeah.
I was impressed. And
Hmm.
I had another gentleman yesterday who pulled up in a truck, and he was like, well, I've had all this sitting in my storage locker. And honestly, it was premium vintage that I would gladly paid for.
Yeah.
And if you go on my Instagram right now, there's a
Hmm.
video of all the people that were in there digging through the donations that this guy had just dropped off, because there was Grateful Dead T-shirts. There was, I mean, all kinds of great stuff in there, Carhartts, and he just dropped it off.
Wow.
It was phenomenal.
Um, yeah, that's really cool. Just how that came about, like people are hesitant to donate things because they know that Goodwill's just going to turn around and sell those for substantial profit. So that's kind of
experience
cool.
with.
That
Yeah,
yeah, came out of left field. Um, so that is just a beautiful thing. So touch on the thing that you've had throughout your journey. What can you narrow it down to just one simple thing that you started doing? I know you're doing more wholesaling now, but
yeah,
maybe when you were still in your early eBay days, what was the one thing that you set up or came up with that really took you from like part time to more of a full time reseller?
sure, sure. Um, I have kind of a few different things that I'm going to part together.
Mhm.
They all kind of create one picture, but I think that it will sort of give you a good go plan if you're just starting and you're just getting into it. And before I say that, if you're watching this or listening to this podcast, you are in great hands with Bo. This guy is phenomenal. He will not lead you astray, and you will be
Thank you.
successful by listening to this podcast.
Thank you.
So the first thing that I would suggest is pick a wheelhouse. It's really, really easy to get into, estate sales or thrift stores or all these different things. And there's all these different sections, and you can get into mid-century modern home decor, or I mean, you
Mm,
could be, you can get into clothing, or you can be into
yeah.
sports gear and all this stuff. And it's really
Mhm,
overwhelming when you first get started because
mhm,
all of them have value. And sometimes you see something sitting on the shelf and you're like, oh, I know that that's worth maybe about this much. And it's really easy to get scatterbrained about it. But I think that if you're just starting, there's time for that down the road. You can expand and you
mhm,
can get different proficiencies. But to start with, I would say find the thing that you're passionate about, whatever that is, and then become extremely proficient at finding those things, because
mhm,
ultimately time is money, and if you're spending 3 hours per thrift shop digging through every last thing that's in there, in my opinion, that's not a great use of time. You're better off hitting all of the spots in your town, spending, 30 minutes, 45 minutes in shop, getting the things that you know are valuable and getting them listed as quickly as possible, because that's the only time that it actually starts becoming valuable, is when you're actually making those sales. So
mhm,
pick a wheelhouse, stick with it. And then the second or the part of that is app
mhm,
fluency.
mhm,
And what I would suggest doing, again, if you're just starting,
mhm,
get into a thrift shop, have your phone in your hands, whether you want to use Google Lens or you want to just go straight to whatever seller app you're on. eBay
yeah,
is probably the best one, because if you're, say, going down the clothing, you see a tag you've never seen before, you can look
mhm,
it up. And
mhm,
then the best thing that you can do from there is start clicking down through those listings. And if you've got those red bars that are coming across the top that says, like one watcher every 24 hours or two watchers every 24 hours, you know that you've got a lot of attention on that product. You've got
mhm,
a great flow through, a lot. The click rate is really high on that
mhm,
item. And
mhm,
then go and sort out the sold items and see how many have been sold in the last 30 days. And
mhm,
then you can weed out most of the junk, or even stuff that might be good, might be
yeah,
expensive, but might not have very good sell-through rate. And then you
mhm,
can be really targeted about the things that you buy, especially early on, because
mhm,
if you're building a nest egg, you don't want to make a ton of mistakes. Some is
mhm,
okay, but
mhm,
you want to make sure that you're being as targeted and efficient as possible. So
mhm,
get really proficient with that. And there are more technical apps that you can use, like for example Terapeak. I'm sure that's
mhm,
something that you probably look at, and
mhm,
a lot of huge resellers use Terapeak as a way to sort of look at all the analytics of like what is selling and the size and the color and
yeah,
really granular stuff.
yeah, seasonality and stuff like that. Yeah.
Seasonality, exactly.
Mhm,
But just by understanding how the basic app works, of looking at the item, looking at it doesn't have action on the items, and then how many is sold through.
yeah.
You don't have to have really technical pieces of software or anything to know that you've got a winner, and that it's in a good price point and that you can make a profit. So just getting really, really fluent with that app in the wheelhouse that you've chosen,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you will start having success.
Hmm. Yeah, I know when I first started reselling, almost about 2.5 years now, I had that same feeling of getting excited when I found something profitable.
Right.
And I tell you this, it is so hard to not buy things that are going to make you money. That's
Yeah,
the hardest thing. And so to sum it all up, it's basically if you're just getting started, maybe start selling the things that aren't being used around your house, but
absolutely.
start having a plan of going out to thrift stores and start researching your items that you like and that you're passionate about, and
Right.
not just picking up any old thing that can kind of, the shiny object syndrome of like, oh, but I can make 20 bucks on this VCR, or I can make 15
Right.
bucks on that bar of soap. And it's like, well, that's hard to grow and scale a business. So to sum it all up is like, don't go out and just buy everything that makes profit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
That's exactly right. And really being like, trim. Like I said, it's really easy to get lost in the weeds. And especially as like a clothing reseller, I love
Mhm.
clothing personally because for the most part, especially if we're talking about basics,
Yeah.
shirts and pants and stuff, it's
Mhm.
easily packable. It's generally lightweight. I mean, like right now, I've got some artwork in the house that I bought.
Yeah.
And when I comped it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is really valuable, but
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah.
And I know I've gotten myself in trouble in the early days of shipping out things that are fragile with glass and having them show
Mhm.
up broken, and like you start running
Mhm.
into all these other issues. So the beauty of something like clothing is that
Yeah.
it's lightweight, it's durable.
Yeah.
You can put it in soft packaging. You
Mhm.
can have it pre-packed like what you
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
So it's super efficient. But then also the comps
Mhm.
on it are high because clothing is
Yeah.
really expensive. So
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing to get started with. And
Mhm.
yeah, and then you can expand out from there. I have a few friends of mine, and I mean they're only doing furniture.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about packing a couch. I mean that
I
just sounds hard.
yeah. I found two bikes and
Yeah,
in that storage unit, some Cannondales
yeah,
and this mini made in USA bike. They sold on eBay, great profit, but at the same
yeah.
time I go, "Oh my god, I got to ship this out."
Oh no,
And
oh
I'm
no.
just like, so I broke, you break it down and two U-Haul extra large boxes, but you
Yeah,
just kind of feel for those people that are selling bigger items, maybe bigger
yeah,
profit, but you do need to have some type of system in place to be able to pack those big items, store those
right.
big items. I'll tell you this: I've never had a pair of jeans break in the mail.
Amen,
So,
brother.
yeah, amen to that. And
Yeah,
that's kind of the beauty of clothing. And there's an
exactly.
abundance out there.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Well,
appreciate your time. Yeah.
yeah, and if
Uh-huh.
I can
No,
touch on one last thing too,
for
just
sure.
just
Yeah.
with that,
Mm-hmm.
that brings us to kind of like the concept of like that flow, right? And so
Yeah.
flow is efficiency. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're in your wheelhouse, you're picking the
Mm-hmm.
items. You can
Mm-hmm.
also uh, pre-prepare with your packaging,
Yeah.
right? So that way
Yeah.
you can say to yourself, well, if I'm just doing clothing or I'm just doing
Mhm.
shoes, then
Mhm.
you can have all of the packaging necessary. So when those things
Yeah.
sell, they go
Yeah.
out quickly. But if you're
Mhm.
doing like clothing, and then like you said, like a VCR, and then you're doing like
Yeah.
medical supplies, and then you're doing like all these
Mhm.
different things, your packaging is going to be constantly changing and what you need.
Mhm.
Or all of a sudden you need a poster tube, or you need this or that, and all of a sudden your time is being
Mhm.
sucked up by going out and finding odd shipping implements,
Yeah.
and that can be really time consuming. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
part of the reason why having that thing that you do is important, because from
Mhm.
start to finish, it makes it faster to get it out the door ultimately
Mhm.
with that
Mhm.
preparation.
Yeah, for sure. I can't imagine a shipping station where it's, the everything seller model. I just say props to you all because when it comes to shipping, it's like the bubble wrap, the double boxing,
Yeah,
the praying that it won't break in the mail so you get
right.
returned. The vases or the vases that get shipped, and Yeah, so props to all those everything sellers out there. Is like that is definitely something you got to master to be proficient at, and making sure your items go from point A to point B without them being broken.
Yep, that's
So
right.
very cool. Yes, I just wanted to touch on the one thing that's similar to yours is that really helped me transform my business was having standards. Once I started figuring out what I wanted to sell and I decided clothing, I didn't like the fact that clothing was just being wasted in landfills and there was a great
Yeah.
opportunity for management, managing
Mhm.
resources. And for me was setting standards of picking up brands that were in demand, that had high sell-through rates, and not just picking up items just to pick up items,
Mhm.
passing on the faded glories, the Moronas, the white stags, those types of brands where it's mainly Target, Walmart brands,
Yeah,
and deciding, if I'm going to be listing 50 items a day on eBay, I need to make sure I have 50 items that I would consider buying to resell,
that's right.
items that have more in demand. I sell mainly mall brands, but at the same time, mall brands are in demand. They're in malls. They're paying
Absolutely.
hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in rental space to sell these brands
Just
that
said that.
people spend their life's earnings on. So
That's
that's
right.
why I was niching down in mall brands. And in that, deciding to pick up brands that are more in demand rather than picking up just any clothes, you're going to find that, hey, if you're picking up everything, you're going to notice, hey, I'm listing all these items, but they're not selling. You might want to pay attention to the brands that you're spending time taking photos of and listing and setting
Mhm.
standards for when the next time you go out sourcing, go, okay, I have 50 brands. And if I do not find these brands, I am not picking them up because
That's
I
right.
don't want to kill my store. One of the worst things you can do when you start scaling your business is picking up items that are never going to sell. It may
That's
be
right.
cool, but it's not going to sell. And
Yeah.
the second thing is buying items and not listing them. So they ain't making
Mm.
money if they're sitting on the floor.
Amen.
It's they got to get listed and put into place. So it's very cool that you said something similar, and we hadn't really talked about that. Was like, have a plan and have standards for, when you go out shopping and sourcing. Don't just pick up everything you see. That's gonna be like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, it's great. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so where can people find you? I get people interested that want to buy, maybe just 10 or 15 pieces for their small store. Where can
Yeah.
they
Sure.
find you? What are your socials, and how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So the name of the store project is Ghost Town Outfitters,
Hmm.
and we're certainly on Instagram. We're on TikTok.
Hmm.
We have a Facebook group too. It's just Ghost Town Outfitters, and you can go
Hmm.
follow that if you're in town, or if you're
Hmm.
just driving around. We're off West 11th, 1040 tie in. It's right by the old DMV,
Hmm.
and we're unit number 8, so it's at the very back of the building.
Okay.
You don't want to go to the back of the parking lot. It's just the back of the first building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it says Ghost Town on the door. I do
Hmm.
have more signage out there now. When we first
Hmm.
started, I didn't have any.
Hmm.
But so there's some signs on either side of the building directing you which way to go.
Hmm.
And we're there from noon to 8,
Hmm.
Wednesday through Saturday.
Hmm.
So no need
Cool.
to book appointments anymore. When we first
Hmm.
started, it was appointment only, but now we're just regular hours.
Cool. Yeah, get down there and see what he has. If you're a new reseller in the Oregon area, you may want to skip the
So
bins kind of culture and see what Parker has going on. He offers free refreshments, and there's a
I do.
couch there and a
Yeah.
TV there.
I have so
So
much sparkly water.
yeah,
You're getting so hydrated.
next you just need a disco ball in the corner.
I got
You know.
lasers.
Yeah. Okay.
I
There
don't
you
think you
go.
saw I had lasers going. So
There you
we're
go.
almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is such an awesome experience, and for people that are just starting and that want to get going in clothing, check them out. Worth the
Yeah.
drive. Make the drive, build connections.
Yeah,
So
and I'm always there
yeah.
if you have questions as well.
Hmm.
That's one of the things that's really important to me
Hmm.
is not to hold this stuff in and keep it a secret or anything like
Yeah.
that. I know that that Bo has that same spirit about him. If you're in the shop, if you have questions, you
Yeah.
want to know how to make more money, how to do things more efficiently. I mean, whatever it may be, I'm here for you. I'm an open book, and we're ready to help and make people successful in 2023 and on.
Yeah. There is an abundance of clothing, would you say?
Yeah,
Enough to go around. You know,
absolutely.
there's a lot. So
Yeah,
it's not like there's like,
plenty
no,
for
it's
all of us.
mine. It needs to be
Yeah,
released. So that's very cool. So I'm just going to touch on the video. If you're wanting to know a little bit more about what Parker's doing, like more of the deep dive of his warehouse and stuff, we did a previous video a couple weeks ago. You could check it out right here somewhere, and
check it out.
just check
Check
it
it
out
out.
and kind of get to know what he's doing and kind of the backstory of how he came up with the idea of starting this rag house, bale house type of idea. But yeah, if you have any questions and you're watching this on the replay, leave them in the comment section down below, and love to help you guys along your journey. Have a blessed rest of the day and take care.
Thank you so much, guys.